All right. Well, I guess it's me. Thank you for coming and watching with us today. Thank you, Gillian. Thank you, Swan, for having me. My name is Kim Etzel. We'll go over a little introduction of me. Um, I am currently a youth services librarian for the Lorraine Public Library System, the Avon branch. I have actually only been in this position for about 6 weeks. Um, it was a kind of a fast move, but I was previously at the Grafton Midview Public Library, which is where I actually did this Fortnite program. I gave my 2 weeks notice at Grafton, and the second thing out of my mouth was, yes, I will come back and do the Fortnite program. So I did go back and do that after work at Avon Branch one evening. And how I came to do this webinar. I've never done a webinar before, so I hope this is okay. Um, I saw a Facebook post from a woman named Tiffany Fay, who was a public librarian, talking about her Fortnite program. And she was willing to share her files and share her information, which was wonderful. And we kind of got to talking. We emailed each other back and forth a few times. And I happened to see that she was doing this webinar, and I emailed her and said, "Oh, congratulations. And if you need any, firsthand experience, extra information, I'd be more than happy to help." And she said, "Actually, I'm not doing that. I'm leaving my position." So Cassandra with Swan emailed me and said, "Hey, are you willing to do this?" And I said, "Well, all my information's from your original presenter." And she said, "That's great. Please do this for us." So here I am. And no, that's not me. That's just a Fortnite avatar I found. Um, she's wearing glasses. That's the only reason why I chose her. All right, so what is Fortnite? I don't know if anyone's ever played before. I had not before I got involved in doing this program for the library. So, and I have only played for about 20 minutes online, but it's an online video game. It was presented, or it came out in 2017, released by Epic Games. In July of 2017, there was a Save the World version of the game, which was a cooperative version. Everyone playing online was working together to rid the world of whatever problem it was having. I'm not sure exactly what it was. It was available for computers, PC, Mac, the Xbox One, and the PS4, and that was it. In 2007, or in September of 2017, the Battle Royale version, which is what most people think of when they think of Fortnite. The Battle Royale version, we'll talk a little bit about it later, is just you have to be the last one standing. And it was available for the same systems. Currently, it is free to play still. It has always been free to play. It's available for PC, Mac, Xbox One, PS4, Switch, and mobile. And it can be played across platforms. So if I'm playing on a computer, on a PC, I could be playing against someone who is on a PS4. And it's not totally seamless, but pretty much everywhere you can play all different people, all around the world. All right, so the Battle Royale gameplay. There's 100 online players that come together. You get on that little bus up there. It is called the Battle Bus. You are parachuted onto an island where once you land, you scavenge for tools, you scavenge for weapons, you build barriers to protect yourself. You try to be the last one standing. There are options. You can play as teams. You can play with 2 people, 4 people. There's even a 50 versus 50 where you're each on a team and you're working together to beat the other team. As you're playing, the playing area shrinks. It's called a storm. A little message comes up and says, "The storm is coming, take cover." If you're in the storm, you start to die. You start to lose hit points, or you start to gain hit points and lose health. But what it does is it brings the players closer together so that, you don't have someone at the top of the island and the bottom of the island who are going to try to survive on their own up there or down there. It brings them all together and forces the game to move forward. And what makes Fortnite so popular? I know in my own library, both Grafton and Avon, there are kids every day coming in and playing Fortnite. Um, and, that's every day we see it. It's a simple interface. It is easy for beginners to play, although me not playing video games much at all, it wasn't that easy. And it's free. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You can have families who might not have the money to shell out $50 for a brand new video game. Here they are, they can play this free one as long as they want, as many times as they want, and they're not playing any games. They're not paying any money. There are some in-game purchases that you can make with real money, but it's not necessary to play the game. Fortnite concerns. So down here, I was actually going to put a little video here um, from YouTube, and it was just a game, like battle royale trailer. So you were just going to be able to see what the gameplay looked like. And as I was watching it, there are guns. You are shooting people. And, due to recent events, I just didn't feel comfortable putting it there. Not that there's any blood, there's no gore, there's nothing like that. As I was watching, it was making me a little uneasy. So I started to do a little research and find out, what other people think about the concerns that they might have that it's too violent. So I put 2 links there, and you'll get all of this after the webinar, and you'll have the links. But the first one's from Psychology Today, and it talks about the pros and cons to playing Fortnite. Now, there are some pros. It's a very social game. Kids, maybe they're in school and they're talking about it, and they go home and they play it with those friends that they've talked about Fortnite with. Or maybe they don't have a lot of friends in real life, and maybe they have some friends that they play with online, play Fortnite with. Maybe they like, oh, I'm going to play it this time. Let's be on a team. Great. But, there is the violence. And then the second link that I have there is from the American Academy of Pediatrics, talking about how virtual violence affects young children, their overall health, their well-being, if it increases in aggressive thoughts, feelings, actions. I think personally, you need to know your kids, your own kids, and if you're going to allow them to play this game, limit it, wait till they're a little bit older. It's all up to you. But you, as a librarian or as working in a library, if you're going to present this program, maybe you might have some parents who voice concerns. And if they do, you can at least have a little bit of background, at least maybe talk about the positives of it. We did not have any parent concerns for it. Which, was great. I didn't even really think about it, honestly, until I started doing this webinar. So anyway, we're going to keep moving. So Fortnite vocabulary, just like I said, I had never played until I started doing this, started getting ready to present the actual program in the library. So I definitely learned a lot, and I wish I had something like this that I could refer back to. So we talk about hit points. It's just a point that a player receives when they get hit. Med kits and bandages heals those hit points. The boogie bomb. The boogie bomb is thrown during gameplay, and it causes the players to dance, or they call them emotes. And the next thing is called emotes. They're the dances, and you see that little guy there. He's doing the floss, which you've probably heard about. There are all different kinds of dances in the game that you can buy. We'll go over a couple of them a little bit later that we used in our game. The in-game currency in Fortnite they're called V-Bucks, and you can use them to purchase emotes. Or in the game, you can use them to buy cosmetic player enhancements. They call them skins, different clothes, different hats, things like that. And then we have the loot llama, which is just this really cute little llama, all different colors. It's Fortnite's version of a loot box. And usually there's some good things in there that you wouldn't be able to get anywhere else. in the game that we presented, we put med kits in it, bandages, and the boogie bombs. All right, so how do we go about setting up something that these kids can play in the library without a screen? So we had badges and lanyards. All right, so on the left, that picture on the left with the orange lanyard was the one that Tiffany had sent me, person that I got the information from. That's how she created her lanyard. We did things a little bit differently, but laminated the badge, made sure it was durable, and the kids could add V-Bucks and the laminated emotes to their badge, so they always had them. They didn't have to carry them around in a pocket or anything. They could just put them on their badge and go from there, and they had to keep that badge on the whole time. All right. And I did put a little, we put carabiners on ours. I just thought it would be a little bit easier for the kids to slide those laminated emotes and V-Bucks onto theirs. Now, Tiffany also, you can see it in her picture, she put a map of her library, which if you've played video games or if you've played Fortnite, there's usually a map that you can see, and you can see where everything is, how everything is laid out. I did not put one on mine for a number of reasons, one being that the library was renovated and had just opened about a week before our program, and I was already gone at my new job, so I didn't even worry about a map. I figured that the kids knew, they know how to find things, but that's definitely an option that you can do for your own library. All right, so we used beanbags as our weapon. The kids were a little disappointed that they weren't going to be able to use Nerf guns. That was never an option. That was never presented as an option, but that's what they thought they were going to use. But we use beanbags. You can use whatever you'd like. We just thought that it was going to be soft enough and wouldn't hurt anyone, wouldn't hurt much of the surroundings. We made sure we had at least one beanbag for each participant. We had a little laminated beanbag symbol on top of it, taped, and there was Velcro on the back of the laminated beanbag symbol, and we'll get into why in a minute. And then these, before everyone shows up, they're just kind of hidden around your playing space, hidden around the library. They don't have to be difficult to find. They just shouldn't all be grouped together in one spot. They should really be hidden, because the first part of the game, before anyone even gets any hit points or anything, is looking for things, scavenging for items. All right, and there's that loot llama. So I used an old popcorn tin that we had laying around at home, and mine is the red one there, and it happened to be a solid color, so I didn't cover it or anything. Tiffany's, she did hers, she covered it in paper and made a false bottom. I just used mine and the lid, and we both put Velcro dots on the top. And then you can see on the top of mine, we already have, and you can't see exactly what they are, but you can see those little symbols. We have med kits and bandages and boogie bombs on there. Stuck a laminated llama on the front, and they were good to go. All right, so here's those V-Bucks and emotes. So we had some V-Bucks, laminated them, cut them out, laminated them. Same thing with the emotes, printed them, cut them, laminated them. So the kids could earn the V-Bucks by completing missions, and these were super, super simple tasks that they could complete while they were playing the game. We offered 3 missions, so they could earn 3 V-Bucks and then buy 3 emotes. They did not have to do this. This was not something that was required, but if they wanted to, they could. And our missions, like I said, were very, very simple. And the first one was, what is the full name of our local history room? All right, they weren't allowed to go in it, but there was a sign outside the door, so they had to find out what it was. Um, then we asked them what the names of the people running the program today. What are their names? Now we introduced everybody in the beginning. So if they were listening and could remember, they could answer right away. But if not, we did have quite a few kids asking, what's your name? What's your name? And then the third little mission we had was how many chairs are in the front reading room? And all they had to do was go up to the front where we had tables and chairs and count all the chairs and then come back. All right, so one more thing we had was barriers. Now, in the actual video game, you can actually build structures and things to hide behind or hide in, or and usually they're wood and things. Obviously we're not going to do that, so we used cardboard. So we had about 10 cardboard boxes, all different sizes. That's what we had. That's what we could find before the program. So each cardboard or each box should have that little cardboard symbol, cut laminated, Velcro dot taped to the box. And they, like I said, they used those boxes as barriers or shields during gameplay. You'll see some pictures later. The kids are walking around with them. It was actually kind of funny. All right, so the hit points. The badges that I made, I should have pointed it out when we were there, but I had put the numbers 1 through 20 in circles around the very edge of the badges. Once they got 20 hit points, they were out of the game. So how we kept track of that, we used 2 different colors of little round label stickers, which you might already have at your library. But so if they got hit with the beanbag, they got 1 hit point. We used the blue ones for the 1 hit point. If they broke any of the rules, which we're going to go over too, they got 2 hit points, which we used the yellow dots, and those were permanent. They could not restore those. So if they kept breaking the rules, they were going to be out of the game. When they got med packs, which were the big packs, they kind of look like a first aid kit, it restored full health. And then if they gave us a bandage, we took away 15 hit points. It restored 15 health points. And like I said, if they got 20, they were out of the game. All right, so these are the rules that I actually went over with the kids when we got started. And I know it's just a lot of text, but it kind of gives you an idea of how the game is going to run. So the kids started in one place. We had them all gathered. And when they found something that they wanted, whether it was a beanbag or a cardboard box, or, if the loot llama was out and they found a med pack or boogie bomb, they would need to take that little symbol and put it on the back of their badge, where we had affixed 5 Velcro dots. They could only have 5 things in their possession at a time. So, you couldn't see a kid walking around with, 15 bean bags ready to hit anybody who walked by. They could only have 5 things. And if they had 5 things and they saw something else they wanted, they'd have to trade off. Okay. So they were told they could throw the bean bags to hit another player, but the bean bags could only be aimed to hit below the waist. If they hit somebody above the waist, that was a rule, breaking a rule. They got 2 of the permanent hit points. We asked them to be honest about getting hit. Once they were hit, they had to find an adult or a helper to get a hit point sticker. And to be honest, they were honest about it for the most part. There were a couple here and there that, I hit him and he didn't come over here. Most of the time they did come over, I got hit, or I broke the rule, and they were okay about it. So I wasn't too worried about someone really, really, really cheating about anything. So they could hide in the library or hide behind a box if they had a box. If their box was hit with a beanbag, it had to be returned to the floor so that somebody else could use it. They had to make sure they stayed out of areas that were off limits. So, we have an elevator. We had an elevator at Grafton. They weren't allowed in the elevator. They weren't allowed, like I said, in our local history room. They weren't allowed in any staff areas. And we did put signs up that just said, "Do not enter." And the kids were really good about that too. They understood that. All right, so then we talk about the V-Bucks and how they can complete a challenge, which we talked about earlier. All right, so find a boogie bomb. When they were ready to throw the boogie bomb, they had to yell, "Boogie bomb!" And everyone around them that had an emote had to dance. They couldn't not dance. They had to dance. And it was pretty much if they could see anybody, the whole building could have heard them, but, people just kind of in their line of sight had to dance if they had an emote. They had to dance for 5 seconds. And they could still be targets. So that's the advantage of throwing a boogie bomb, is that you kind of had those people stuck there for 5 seconds, and then you could hit them with beanbags if you had them, and cause some hit points. And then once they were done with the boogie bomb, they had to return it so that we could maybe use it again. All right. And then, did you find a med kit or bandages? Find an adult and we'll take away. So they had to give us their med kit and we would take away the appropriate number of hit points. And we just peeled those stickers off and put them to the side. Once you get 20 hit points, you're out of the game, return to the starting point. And they did. We had, it took a while, but we did have kids that got out along the way. It didn't all happen at once. All right, so we talked about storms earlier. I told the kids there will be storms, and they got very excited for that. So what we did, I yelled really loud, "Storm is coming!" And I gave them an area that they could not go into anymore. So I mentioned that the Grafton Library is 2 floors. They were allowed to use both floors. The first time that I yelled about a storm coming, I eliminated the whole top floor. So they could not be in that section anymore. So everyone came downstairs, and it got everybody closer together, and more hit points started happening a lot faster. And then then I would make an announcement later: the storm is coming, the storm is moving, stay out of the front reading area, stay out of the media section. So we just, like I said, we just got smaller and smaller and smaller. Watch out for the loot llama. The loot llama, you saw the pictures of it. We put it out 3 times during the game, which is kind of similar to how the video game works. We didn't make any kind of announcement. It just went out. I casually put it out close to where I happened to be standing. Didn't say anything about it. It took a few minutes, and then the kids found it, and they, "Oh, loot llama, loot llama." Once it was empty, I took it back, refilled it, and then very silently, casually put it out again in a different spot. So it went out 3 times the same way. The kids kept asking, "Oh, could we get another loot llama?" I'm like, "No, it's already been out 3 times." Because they wanted more med kits. They wanted more bandages. That's just the way it went. All right, so then I talk about if you're not following rules, you'll get permanent hit points. They can't be taken away. And we did have 1 or 2 kids who kept coming up, "I got permanent hit points. I got permanent hit points." And they just kept doing the same thing over and over again. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish, but we did have 1 or 2 that kept getting those yellow hit point stickers. All right, and then the last one standing is the winner, which is how any battle royale should end. And then we let them go. And on the next slide, I think I just have some pictures. It was hard to take pictures. It got very busy for us at the time, but I wasn't sure about privacy issues with these kids. I took these pictures just for myself, and knowing that I was going to do this webinar. but you can see them walking around with the boxes. We had 15 kids um, do the program. Uh, we offered it to more, but I don't know about you, but I know a lot of library programs in the summer. You get a lot of people signed up, and then not so many show up. So we had 25 signed up, and then we had 15 come. So I don't know what happened. Um, but like I said, you can see these kids walking around with boxes. We had mostly boys. We opened it up to ages 8 and up. Most of these kids were about 9 and 10. We had one girl, one girl. You can see her in the bottom left. Um, Unfortunately, she was the first one out, but she had fun. She kept telling me she had fun. She had never played the video game before either, but she said it sounded like fun. So, and she had a good time. Um, the just the top right corner, you can see that. I don't know if you can tell. He's in another picture too. He brought his own face mask because he did not want to get hit in the face at all, and he wore it the whole time. So I thought that was kind of funny. Um, he was very serious about it. Um, like I said, you can see him in that bottom picture towards the right. That was my son in the black t-shirt giving out those missions and the V-Bucks. He had his own little store set up over there. But we had a good time. We had a good time. All right, how did it go? And I said the kids had a great time. It got them active. It got them to be a little bit social, and it got them away from a screen. They were able to take something that they've done on a screen all summer, or for however long they've been doing it, and they got to play it in the library, and they got to do it after hours, which is also something fun. You know, the kids don't always get to be in the library after it's closed. So they thought that was exciting. And like I said, for the most part, they did follow the rules. They, like I said, they were honest about getting hit. They were, um, I had a couple of tattles, like, hey, this person didn't tell me. Did I hit that person? They didn't tell you. Or, um, people, two players just kind of playing on their own. I don't know. But for the most part, they followed all those rules. Um, and they had a good time. What would I change? Um, I have, I did this program one time. Like I said, it was at a library that I'm no longer working at. Would I do it again? I say it yes. What would I change? So when I made the badges, I printed them just on regular paper and then laminated them. Um, Thinking that the lamination would be strong enough. And it wasn't. Almost right away, some of the badges were coming off of the lanyards. Um, it was a quick fix, but the kids wanted to get back in the game right away. So for a couple kids, I just gave them a new badge if they didn't have anything on it. Or a couple of them like, here, give me a second. And I just taped it and punched a hole in it again, and it was fine. So I would definitely use a heavier paper. Um, the timing. The timing was a little weird. I had, like I said, the one girl that came and played, she was the first one out and then didn't get to play for the rest of the session. We made the entire program an hour and a half. And once we got through the rules and everything, it was probably about 20 minutes into it already before they actually started playing. And so for about, after she was out, she had, a good amount of time where she wasn't doing anything. And knowing that now, I think what I would do would be to make 20-minute rounds, and whoever's left standing is left standing. Um, and then we would just start all over again, and everyone goes back to zero and starts a whole new fresh game again. That was the thing that I wasn't anticipating. I don't think that kids would be out and that we wouldn't get to do it again. We just didn't have time to do a second session or a second round. Um, and yeah, so that was something, and I would definitely change that again for next time. The other thing I didn't mention at all, but we gave out. I had just kind of last minute. I bought them myself. I went to Five Below and I got little Fortnite little keychains that I figured the kids could put on backpacks or something. Um, and I got four of them, really not knowing what I would do with them, but I knew I wanted to give them out somehow. Um, so I ended up giving. There was a little girl character, and I gave it to the girl that the one girl that came, and I on the sly a little bit, and I said, I'm gonna give this to you. I said for being the only girl. And for being the first one out. And she was happy. She liked it. She thought it was nice. Um, and then once we got to a point where these kids were just playing and playing and playing and kept going, and it was just taking, most kids were out. I said, okay, we're going to stop when we're down to 3 kids. And so once we got to 3 kids, we were able to, end the game. And then afterwards, we actually gave all the kids, some popsicles just so they could kind of cool down and relax a little bit before they went home. Um, there's something else I was going to change. Um, another thing I would change is with the Velcro and the little labels. Sometimes those labels didn't get back to where they were, and sometimes you had kids who maybe should have put something back and they didn't, or they found something that didn't have a label on it. We kind of went through it and let it go after a while. But I think if we narrowed down the timing of the rounds, it might move things along a little better with that in that aspect. The other thing I would change is the med pack and bandages. At a certain point, I would say, I'm sorry, you cannot use these anymore. We had a couple kids towards the end who were saving them. And so there would be 4 kids left. And all of a sudden, this kid who had 18 hit points was like, I have a med kit. I get to heal all the way down to 0. And it was just starting all over again. So I would tell them, hey, all right, as of right now, no more med kits, no more bandages. And if they had them, they couldn't use, too bad. They would just have to do it. They would just have to keep going. Yeah, so and like I said, would I do it again? Absolutely. Um, I would also I probably have we had 3 employees and 1 um, volunteer who was maybe I volunteered him. That was my son. Um, but he enjoyed it. He had a good time too. We had someone else that we were hoping to have, but they ended up having a family emergency. They had to cancel last minute. So I would have probably at least 1 more person, and I think it really depends on how many kids you have, because they are constantly coming to you. Oh, I got hit. Oh, I got hit. Oh, I need to heal. And you need to keep an eye on what's going on too. So I think the more people you can, more adults or helpers that you can get in there, the better. And I know it's hard with small staffs and things, but volunteers, anybody that you could get in there, I would definitely work on that. Um, I can't see any questions, so I don't know if there has been questions along the way. I don't know where those would be, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to type. I will make sure that all of my information here is going to be made available to you. So the whole slideshow, and I also have all of my little graphics that I used, all of the rules, even places where I bought lanyards and the carabiners and the Velcro dots. I provide links for all of those. Um, that's all I have. I just want to say thank you. Like I said, the files are going to be available. There is my email address. Please, if you want to do this and you have any questions, um, feel free to email me. I will be happy to do what I can to answer. Um, Doing this program has also kind of led me to, what else can I bring into real life? And actually, at my current position, there was a program already on the books that I ended up running called Angry Birds. I think it was called Life Size Angry Birds. And so that was another game that we could bring off the screen and bring it into the library. And that was a fun one too. And it was really just building with cardboard blocks and then knocking them down using the little birds. Um, but I want to say thank you to Swan for having me kind of as a replacement. I do want to thank Tiffany Fay, who I doubt she will ever hear this, but I want to thank her for giving me her information and all of her files that she used to do this program. Because I don't know if I would have been able to do this from scratch, to be honest. It was nice to have that jumping off point, and it made it a lot easier for me to present this to my library. And I think that's all I have.